Hi everybody, it's Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading video for the week starting March the 23rd through to the 29th, 2020. So I just want to say first up that I know this is a very, very strange and challenging time in history. And for those of you who don't know, there is an energy healing available on my website for free, and that will really help you with your anxiety levels and also give your immune system a bit of an extra boost. It's a very short exercise. It only takes you 1 minute to do. It's available on my website, which you can find at www.onegroundedangel.com. Please note this does not replace the need to practice all the recommended health measures at the moment, the washing of your hands, the social distancing. These are really important. The purpose of the energy healing is to deal with your energy, and that helps create a climate for your body to be at its best, really. So it is not going to prevent you from getting sick. It is not going to cure you if you do get sick. It's going to get your body and your energy healthy so that they've got the best chance they can possibly have of keeping you emotionally well as physically well. Okay, so I just need to make that disclaimer really clear. If you want to find out more, it's at my website. So what I'm going to do now is read some angel cards for the week. It's a very challenging time right now, as I said, so normally I record these videos in advance because I try to avoid working weekends, but because things are changing so much day by day, I'm actually recording this right now on Sunday, the day I launch it. And yeah, so I think it's really important to try and make these as current as I can, because what I've found is that the need to stay present is really important, and also because I think it's also really helpful for you guys to be able to, I'm not explaining this very well, but I just think, well, for a start, I mean, I'm working entirely from home now, so that means that the weekend, the need to differentiate between the weekend and weekday is not so important, but also I think it's important for you guys to get really targeted messages right now. And in the past, it's really been up to you a lot more to take the cards and their meanings and really apply them to your lives, and that has not changed, but now I'm speaking more specifically to the pandemic situation with these messages. And obviously the rest of your life is not stopped, although a lot of things are on pause right now, so you know, you still do need to think about what this applies to, but I'm trying to target it in some ways. So Monday's card, I love this. Write about your thoughts and feelings. I know I sound like a broken record, but journaling is so good. Keep a journal. It really is great. This is not like a teenage Dear Diary, today I went to this place type diary. It's more about just sitting in front of a blank page and writing about, today I'm really scared, today I feel like this happened, someone said this to me and it made me freak out about my family, whatever is going on for you, just write it down. It's giving you some separation between what's going on up here and just getting it on the page. Once you can see it, it's easier to put it into perspective. It kind of, and it's cleansing in a way, it's cathartic, so I definitely recommend that. If you really have hang-ups about your writing ability, for a start, remember no one's ever going to see it, so you don't need to be worried about grammar or spelling, but you might find it easier to just write in bullet points, like a bullet journal type thing. This happened, thinking about this, wonder if I should do this, that sort of thing, so you don't feel the pressure to make it a narration or any sort of running copy. That might help you. So really expressing how you feel, and if that's not appealing, talking to someone you trust will do the job as well. I personally, I guess because I am a writer, I find journaling amazing, but also because I'm a writer, it took me a long time to get on board with this particular well-being trend, because A, I'm skeptical of trends, but B, because I have a lot of judgment about when I write about it needing to be good, because that's literally what I do for a profession. So I had to kind of surrender that and just be in the process instead of worrying about the product. And that's been enormously helpful for me in my healing. This is an odd one for Tuesday. We have workshops and seminars. Obviously, we're not able to go out to workshops at the moment. Not a lot of them are running, but there is heaps happening online. I'm so heartened by seeing how many things have been put online, often for free, that we might not normally have had access to. So if you're seeing a workshop or a seminar or a training course you've been thinking about, go for it. You've got a good moment to do it right now, because a lot of other things that were keeping you busy have now slowed down or stopped. So The other thing is, it might be for some of you who are feeling called to deliver some sort of speech presentation, workshop, I don't know, whatever it is. If that's what you felt called to do, go for it. This is a really great time for working on our personal development, and that may include formal education or even informal, I guess. So of course, trust your intuition on what's speaking to you. But I have been getting deeper into my astrology studies. I did an astrology workshop several years ago, and since then I've developed that by just my own reading, but now I've enrolled in a remote workshop series, and that's really helping me a lot to get more knowledge. So Wednesday, 2 cards have come up. I love them both, mostly because of the illustrations, but also the messages. So we have peace and we have imagine. So let's start with peace. I mean, it's got the dove there. That's a pretty potent symbol of peace, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, there's always a good time to really stop and sit in peace. But obviously with what's going on in the world, all the noise out there, this is a really, really important message for right now at this moment in history. So, peace is not something that only happens when all the noise dies down, when things are normal, when there's an absence of worry. Peace is already within us. It's something that we need to get reconnected with. So you find it not in an ashram in India, although if well, no one's traveling at the moment, so I'm sure that's not happening for you. You find it within yourself. You don't need to go to a place, and that's particularly helpful at the moment when we're all stuck at home. We're not stuck at home, I try not to, that sounds a bit negative, but when we're at home and we're not going out to places. So the problem with stress is that it's kind of buried under all these, peace is buried under all these layers of stress, Freudian slip there, and we forget it's there. So we go looking for it in other places, relationships, shopping, whatever it is, and alcohol. And in fact, those things just numb us temporarily, and then they make things worse later on. So what we need to be doing is actually sitting in stillness, being comfortable to do that. Sometimes that's distressing for people for whom busyness has been a badge of honor and been a measure of their what they consider their value in the world. So that can be challenging for a start, but journaling can certainly be a way to help you do that, to be still, to get all the thoughts out of here so you can just sit in stillness. The peace is within you. You already have it. And if you're struggling to access that, definitely a lot of apps that do meditations. I know Headspace has always got a lot of free ones available. Calm is another good one. I've not tried it, but I'm told. Smiling Mind, I don't know if that's available outside Australia, however. So yeah, do what you can to find that peace. It's there. It really is there. I know that seems hard right now, and I also know it's tempting to think, well, it's not possible to be at peace when there's so much danger around us at the moment. A lot of us are in that fight or flight response at the moment. But you really can access that peace, because what you need to do is stop looking all out here and just look one day at a time. Right now, I've got everything I need. I have enough food. I have enough toilet paper. I hope you do. The people I know and love are safe. I have everything I need, everything is okay. Just those sorts of mantras can sort of help you just to really remember that you are safe. And if I haven't said this often enough, please stop watching the news. If you want information, I know a lot of people think if I have information that will help me get some control and that will help me feel safe, you need to go to your government or your health authority's website. Don't go to the news, because hearing numbers, statistics, people's frightened projections, that is just going to exacerbate your fears. Don't do that. So really getting some distance from the noise. I went to the beach yesterday. I know that sounds reckless to those of you who don't know where I live, but I live in a regional area. The beaches were very quiet. We stayed in a place where no one else was. So being around nature can be really helpful. I know that's not so easy if you're in the city, however. Let's move on to imagine. So imagination, I can see two sides to this. On the one hand, your imagination might be spinning out of control right now because you're imagining worst case scenarios. And, maybe you're one of those people who's been watching disaster movies. This is not a good time to scare yourself by watching movies about outbreaks of disease. Definitely don't do that. That's not a good thing for your imagination to be exposed to. On the positive side, your imagination could be, like your creativity could be really stirred by the fact that you have no or not as much work to focus on. You have no kids' sports games to run around shepherding them to. And this is a good time for you to actually do those creative projects. I touched on this a little bit last week, towards the end of last week. We had the Ostara card, and I talked a bit about how it's a time for new beginnings, starting on things that you've been putting off. Maybe you've been thinking about creating a scrapbook of all the kids' memories and photos and memorabilia. Well, this is your time to do it. Use your imagination to really think about what you could be investing your energy in, because those sort of projects help you be still. They help you be present in the moment, and that's pretty welcome right now, because what this is teaching us is we only ever have the present moment. The future has never been less certain. So let's just be in the moment and do what we can to make the most of that. Thursday, that was upside down. Trust. I think it was interesting that this card came up upside down, although that's probably not surprising if you know how weirdly I shuffle the cards. But the world has been turned upside down. It really has. So this is a good time to remember an ability to trust. It's difficult to trust when we can't see what's ahead, but the truth is we never really knew what was ahead. We just fooled ourselves into thinking that we could plan our futures. So, and to an extent we could, of course, but now everything is even less certain than what we had thought. So now we need to be coming back to a time of trusting. This is going to be really difficult for you to do if you grew up in a family or a situation where you didn't get your needs met, because you would not have been able to trust the people around you who were supposed to meet your needs. They weren't there for you. They were workaholics, they were alcoholics, they didn't know how to love, whatever the situation was. That teaches you as a very young child that you can't trust in the world. There's no safety, there's no stability, and then you go on as an adult to not be able to trust anyone, to not be able to trust. If you're in a relationship, you might keep thinking your partner's going to walk out the door. You might be so scared to trust people that you are unable to get into a healthy relationship. All these sorts of things can come up. And as I mentioned, now that we're doing a lot of self-reflection, maybe you're acutely aware of these issues more than ever. So, and also if you've had a lot of things happen to you that have gone against what you expected, your ability to trust the universe will be compromised. People often talk to me about, I'm really unlucky, nothing ever works out for me. It's difficult in those situations, if that's what you believe, not to frame the universe as some sort of force that's working against you. There's really no such thing as luck. We don't, it's not like some people are doomed to have bad things happen and people are destined to have good things happen. We've got a lot of power of the things that we attract into our lives. And if you're attracting a lot of adverse outcomes, I'm not talking about the pandemic, of course, that's different, but I'm talking about our personal circumstances. If you're attracting a lot of adverse situations, you really need to think about what it is you believe about the universe. Because if you believe that you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, you constantly think that the universe is working against you, you're going to attract more of those sorts of outcomes. So I know that really crappy things can happen to people and I'm not trying to blame them. Certainly illnesses are a really good example of when crappy things happen, and that's no one's fault. But I am saying, if I'm talking about when there's a run of things that happen, your ability to trust the universe will be compromised. And right now, when we're, particularly here in Australia, we've had bushfires, we've had severe drought, we've had flooding, and now we've got obviously the pandemic. A lot of people are really struggling to trust the universe and think that nothing good's ever going to happen to us. And I know that's a really difficult place to be in, and that you can start to really block optimism when you're in that state. So you might like to talk to me about energy healing, if that's where you're at, to help clear some of those beliefs and help you get back to a place where you can believe in better outcomes. That doesn't mean denying the reality of where you're at right now. If life is hard, then definitely acknowledge that you've got to, and journaling again would be good for that. But it is about making sure you know that good things are ahead. We need to be able to have hope for the future. If you have no hope for the future, that's a pretty dark place to be in. And I really hope that you're okay, because that's when you need to be thinking about trusting what's going on. Why are you unable to trust, and how do you want to move through that? So let's go to Friday now. Aphrodite, inner goddess. Oh, this is an interesting one. It's about the divine feminine, for those of you who are already aware of that concept. So this is a time really when the divine feminine needs to come through. The divine feminine is the kind of energy that all of us have, regardless of your physical gender, if you have one. It is the energy of nurturing. It is the energy of intuition. It is the energy of wisdom. All those sorts of things. It is also the energy of sensuality. All those sorts of things that might have been portrayed as weak in the past, or seen as silly, frivolous, not important. And now's the time we're realizing that really being connected to a spiritual core, really looking after each other and having compassion for other people is really important. And in truth, it's always been important, but we're aware of that more than ever. My eye keeps coming back to the dove on here, so I'm seeing a connection with this this idea of peace. Really channeling that divine feminine might be a way for you to access that peace. So let me read the caption. Awaken the goddess within you through dance, self-care, and appreciating your divinity. So they're touching on a number of things there with that caption. Dance is part of that sensuality. I've been dancing in my living room. Some of you have seen, I posted a video about that. I used to go to a session called No Lights, No Lycra, which is like a movement where all around the world, different people host it, where they play music for an hour once a week, and you can just sort of see the outline of people so you don't crash into them, and you just really have a great time dancing because you're not self-conscious. You're not worried about people think I look silly, do I need to perform here? You're just being yourself. You're not worried about how your body looks. So it's really great, and I'm really missing it now that it's been closed down for a little while we wait to see what happens with the pandemic. So I just did it at home. They put the playlist on Spotify, so I've just been playing that 1 hour a week, around the same times I used to do it. And it's really great. It just helps you get into your body again. It's about being present. It's about enjoying yourself, which we really need to be trying to do right now, but obviously not in a way that is dangerous. So that's a safe way to kind of bring through that energy. Self-care, of course, that's part of that nurturing side. Really important right now, particularly emotionally. And it says appreciating your divinity, and of course that's about our intuition, meditation. I personally think journaling is part of that process of engaging with spirit, because often we get those when we're in a conversation with the divine. That's partly meditation, of course, but I think sometimes I get really great insights when I'm writing, and it's not just because I'm getting my stuff out of my head, so there's actually room for that noise, I guess that intuitive voice to come through. I can hear it more clearly, but also because sometimes I feel like I'm in a conversation. I can feel like the words aren't coming from me, they're coming from somewhere else. So that can be helpful as well. Really connecting with that spiritual core. This is an excellent time for doing that. I know it's hard when we are scared about the future and we feel like I can't relax into that kind of energy if I don't know what's going to happen, but the truth is none of us know what's going to happen, and so the onus is on us to be where we are and be okay in spite of that. Oh, Saturday, what an interesting one, planting seeds. So I talked a bit about fertility last week with the Ostara card, she being the goddess of fertility, and about planting seeds. Gardening is a really great analogy for so much when it comes to self-development and when it comes to spiritual growth, because when we plant seeds, we've got to tend them. We've got to keep watering them, pulling out the weeds to help them grow, but we have no control over when they grow, if they grow at all, what sort of what they're going to bloom, all those sorts of things. So it's all about patience, and I've probably talked about this many times with you guys whenever the patience cards have come up, and there's a few of them in different card decks. So this is really coming back to that idea of us, now is the time for starting something new. Planting seeds for what we want to create. What is the new future you want now that the one you thought you had is now looking pretty shaky? And I'm not talking about necessarily the bigger level stuff. It might be about those passion projects I talked about, the things you've been wanting to start, the business that you wanted to start but you keep putting off because you're like, I'm too busy with my job. Now you've got more time to do that. Those sorts of things. Something I also think in a larger sense, the message here that I'm getting is something important is being planted for all of us here. The seeds have been sown for a new way of living because the old way was not working. The old way of people seeing their value as being their corporate jobs, of money as being the marker of success, of shutting out the people around them and not connecting with their neighbours, all those sorts of things were not working, and now they've been taken away to a larger extent, and we've been forced to reconnect to what is important. And it's not money, it's not really work, and it's also, although work can obviously have positive impacts on your mental well-being if you have the right approach to it and don't see it as the be-all and end-all. And also, the idea of nurturing the individual at the expense of the planet and at the expense of the collective, all those sorts of things were not working. So in a larger sense, that may not appeal to you right now. I get it. You're probably too busy dealing with how am I going to feed my family right now when things are so uncertain. And I do understand that. Personally, I'm in a position where I'm entirely self-employed. I receive no government subsidies because I live away from my home country. So it's a very difficult time for me personally because my income streams are now not looking as certain as they used to. So it is difficult. Also, my partner is out of work. So I definitely feel where you're coming from. And my approach to that is I cannot solve those problems right now. I just have to focus on getting through one day at a time, doing what I can, and definitely prioritizing self-care, because if I allow fear to take over, then the wheels fall off, and then I make bad decisions, and then I get sucked into this negative thought spiral, and then I'm not able to do the work I need to do for you guys as well. So we have to really fill our own cups first, not at the expense of the collective, of course, but we can't help other people if we're not also helping ourselves. So that's another thing that might have fallen apart for some of you. Those of you who are quite codependent, who were rushing around trying to rescue other people and ignore their own needs, that's probably being triggered right now because your ability to help other people might not be able to take place in the way it used to, particularly if your idea of helping people was feeding their drama. That's something you're going to need to think about as well. Often those ideas about, when you hear people talk about, they'd give you the shirt off their own back. Sometimes those people, we often worship those sort of people and put them on a pedestal, but often they're really neglecting themselves, so perhaps they're not necessarily people to look up to. In fact, really no one should be on a pedestal anyway. So that's something else to think about. I've gone off on a massive tangent. I better reel this back in because we're 22 minutes. Let's go on to Sunday. Oh, totally messed this up. I'm going to try shuffling that again. Like I said, my shuffling skills have never been great, but we always get what we need. And in fact, being an angel card reader is an exercise in trust, because you have to trust the right card will come up and not overthink it. So Sunday's card is Shower of Abundance. Boy, do we need this right now. So the angel on this card is throwing out coins. So money is certainly one way to think about abundance, but it's larger than that. And if you've been to the supermarket right now and seen people freaking out and stocking up their trolleys and things they actually don't need and will probably chuck out and not even use because that food will go off, you'll understand how people's abundance stuff is being triggered majorly right now because they're feeling unsafe, and so they think their way of getting back control is to try and bring in everything to keep them safe. A bit like hoarders, how hoarders of stuff, not talking about food here necessarily, will have stockpiled a lot of like old newspapers they can't bear to throw out, all that sort of thing, because they feel like it keeps them safe. They have control over their surroundings. And we have no control at the moment, and that's a really difficult thing for people to deal with. So at a time like this, the only thing we can do is, one of the only things we can do is really remember that our abundance doesn't come from the supermarket. It doesn't come from the people who pay our wages. It comes from the universe. Those things are just channels, and we need to come back to a place of trusting that we will always have enough of what we need. Instead of thinking about, I've only got toilet paper for 2 months, not 4. Maybe think about, you've got enough for now. You will be fine. There is enough out there. There is enough. This is something we need to keep saying to ourselves. There is enough. There is enough support. There is enough money. There is enough love. Because we're feeling very triggered right now and feeling like there is not enough for us. And that's when you can go into a frenzy of panic buying when you don't need to. And that's not good for your financial health right now. Anyway, I feel like we've come full circle here. So the big theme of the week is about trust. I know this is easier said than done, trying to trust in something you cannot see, but that's the whole point of faith. Faith is about seeing things you cannot see. If you can see them, it's not calling for faith, is it? Because you can see it. It's established. So now more than ever, we need to remember that we are safe. We can trust in the future, even though we don't know what it's going to look like. And we do know, really, it's going to look quite different. Knowing that we'll be okay. So this idea of self-care and nurturing ourselves right now comes through with this Aphrodite card, also with the peace, and I would say writing about your thoughts and feelings is probably one of the strongest cards in my mind for the week ahead. I've banged on for 25 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm going to cut this off now. I hope this has been helpful to you, and you know where to find me. I'm still open for energy healing. I've always done those via distance, so I'm not affected in that sense. It doesn't matter where in the world you are, we can do a session, we can work together. Payment is via PayPal, and I do adjust for time zones, so we can make it work. You can do that via my website, www.onegroundedangel.com. And because the Australian dollar is doing so badly, it's actually, if you're in the States, as I know many of you are, it's a lot cheaper in American dollars than it used to be. So I'm not trying to make a plug for my business right now, which makes me very uncomfortable, but I am aware also that some of you really do need a lot of energetic clearing and healing right now to help you really navigate what's ahead. Yeah, okay, so that's enough. These will be on social media each day. One Grounded Angel is my Instagram handle, and my Facebook page is called One Grounded Angel, and I'm trying to post, articles on that Facebook page as well that may be helpful. But if you are not on Facebook, you can still find it by going facebook.com/onegroundedangel. Yeah, One Grounded Angel, that's it. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm thinking of you all, sending you so much love, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. Take care.